most of it.
I did.
Make sure my boobs are on it.
All right, we are way up, y'all. All right, ladies. Thanks for coming. I just want to say that first. Thanks for coming, friends. All of you, if you would sign in and put your position. And then I also have, while you're passing around the sign-in sheet, I have an agenda and some information that will be helpful. That would be great. Sign as, yeah, go ahead. That's fine. No, and then sign as that as well.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're
Just remember your text.
just
It's
in
not
case.
our real position.
Yes, your real position. What you are right now at Austin. And then, well, yeah, we're staying. There you
You're
go.
my assistant or my yours.
Okay. Resource assistant, you're contained. So contained.
One is person versus.
Okay, so the goal of the meeting today is for you to help me devise a walkthrough observation form. And I thought that would be helpful. First, I'd like for us to talk about some of the demographics of our campus, especially because of the range. Like, we have quite a few brand new staff, and then we've got some veterans as well. And I feel like the walkthrough form what I need on that form could vary greatly based on the number of brand new staff that we have. I don't know, but I thought we could consider that. And then also just what our campus needs are, and then what our district also wants to focus on, like the fundamental 5 being so huge for the district. And then I put in our packet here our current walkthrough form, and then some other examples that I thought we could look at and pull from. I don't know. And then whatever your guys' thoughts are, what we decide as what's most needed and most important for our campus, and what needs to be looked at, I guess, the most. Okay. So what do you think about I pulled out the Texas Academic Performance Report, but honestly, after looking at it, it was not near as helpful as I thought it was going to be, because it's from 2019, 2020, which isn't even this last year. They're always going to be, yes, they're always going to be a year behind. And then we've had such staff turnover. I was like, well, then whatever, I mean, what's in here as far as staff goes was not going to be very helpful in considering the demographics of our campus.
One thing that is helpful on here, no matter who the staff is your population in Memphis hasn't really changed. So your data is pretty solid,
Okay.
even though we have new teachers. So that's one good thing about the way Texas does their reports, is that they are a year behind. And unless you're living in a district like on the edge of Fort Worth, where that they're going out, and where they are having a huge demographic explosion, we are not.
Right.
We are still highly economically disadvantaged, impoverished community. That hasn't changed. So
Okay.
that could really help you
Okay.
later
Okay.
when you
Okay.
get there.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And maybe it's not as big of an issue as I initially was thinking it was. When I was going through the staff in my head, I was counting a new first grade teacher, a new second grade teacher, a new fifth grade teacher, all of them brand new, right? Like first year teachers. The 3, I mean, they would be brand new first year. And then just like new to the building or new to the campus, new to the district, we'll have.
Well, it's actually in addition to that, like a different program.
The part-time,
Yeah,
right?
I would say it'd be handled
Right.
differently.
That one. And then, Kate, Mrs. Tompkins, Caitlin, that's only her second year. So I still consider that pretty new.
Did she resign?
Oh, okay. So that'll be another. So quite a few, either brand new or new to the campus, new to the district. And maybe that's not a big deal.
Well, it is.
But I feel like coming from a different district and the emphasis that our district puts on fundamental 5, if you haven't come from a district that pushes that. I mean, I just know that's a huge thing on the current walkthrough form.
Yeah, it is.
Something that that I'm going to be expected to look for every time I go in. Okay. Are there any other campus needs that I'm not thinking of that y'all can think of? Like what would we want to see in the classrooms across the campus? Besides fundamental 5 stuff, I guess.
It's gonna be consistent in every room.
Yes.
Well,
Or
or what you would like to see, even if it's not
Yes.
consistent. One thing I think that we absolutely have to be looking for, one thing we need to be looking for in every classroom is literally grade level text and instruction. And when I say that, I mean not looking at our data and going, but our kids really aren't there yet, so we need to back up. No, grade level text all the time, no matter where your kids are. And so if you don't see evidence of that, if you don't hear that in the language when you walk into a classroom and you can tell that teachers have watered it down or backed it up, then that's a problem.
so kind of the alignment from classroom to classroom,
Yes,
even as well.
absolutely. No matter what grade
Right.
level you're in.
If you
know.
walk into one third
Right.
grade
So if
classroom,
I'll give you an example. So if you came into my classroom and I was reading books that really typically you would see in kindergarten because they're on an A or B, instead of starting out my first grade day 1 on a level E or F, and I'm just a level text there.
right,
But if I'm not even teaching the grade level text because I think that my students aren't ready for it, you're just creating a bigger gap. And so that is something I think has to be really, no matter fundamental 5 or whatever,
Mhm.
if you're not seeing grade level instruction take place and you're not hearing that rigorous vocabulary from the standards, then you know
And I think that's a big deal across
that
the
everywhere
district
it is.
is, we gotta go back and hit all these things and catch them up. Now we gotta hit the ground running every time. We should.
Mhm. Okay. Okay, so let me ask you, and we can go ahead and look through these forms if you want to, if y'all, I mean, you see the current one, which y'all are familiar with, you've seen it, but one thing that I liked that I think is kind of going with what you're saying, Misty, on a different one, was there was one that was just, it was just like a check mark, and it was checking off, well, I think this one calls it depth of knowledge.
Yeah, definitely.
Or, rigor, the level of questions. And
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't exactly, that's not exactly what you're saying. I know what you're saying, but I think it kind of goes together.
Well, you can't get to a DOPE 4 if you're watering down your standards.
Right, that's what, yeah, right.
So you can always go back and try to remediate at a low level, but bigger than just asking a DOPE 4 question is not going to get you there if you don't even, because I could grab a DOPE 4 question out
Sure.
no matter what grade level I teach.
Right,
But if you're not even at grade level, because you think they can't, whatever
Yes.
your preconceived ideas are, then you're not gonna get there. So here's the problem with just check off lists. Actually, I mean, I like what I see on here as far as the content, but just checking off if you hear a question that a teacher asks, but if you're not listening, you're not really listening for the student voice in the conversation from the students,
hmm,
then you need a
Right.
place for how much student conversation is going on. Does
Right.
that make sense?
yes.
Which is why fundamental 5 is good about the frequent small
Right.
group purposeful talk.
Right.
I mean, those are the things you want to see.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, like the frequent small group purposeful talk and the writing critically are good ones for you to know the level of student engagement. Don't you
yes,
think?
yes,
Maybe not just engagement, but their level of understanding
Yeah.
of the subject being taught.
and also because to me, this is absolutely tied to recognize and reinforce all throughout the lesson. Shouldn't just be seeing that at the ending as a
Mhm.
as a formative quick check. No,
Mhm.
it should be, and that is the recognize and reinforce piece,
Mhm.
the writing critically. Does
Okay.
that make sense?
Mhm.
I mean, that's the way I see it.
Yes. Well, is there anything about the current form that we can improve on? You know, because I'm not really about, you know, I don't necessarily need to start from scratch, you know, and chunk it all and start all over. I just wanted to kind of look at the one that we're using now, see if there were things on these other examples that we liked, or that we can come up with better that can be included. It's a lot of, the one thing about the form that we use right now, like on the back, is normally where it's scripted out. And that's good. Sometimes scripting is called for, but there are times where it's not called for, and it's more difficult to script out every single thing that is said by the teacher or the student. So I just was trying to kind of
It really
put
depends
something
on,
else in there.
because there's kind of this evolution of a walkthrough. And so it depends on what your purpose is. So
Mhm.
like when I look at these, I look at like stages of the classroom or the year. So, and I brought you a couple things for that. But
Okay.
like from the very beginning stages, I'm gonna do environmental walkthroughs. I'm gonna be going through, I'm gonna be looking for those systems and processes that we've said we want in place. Not just this framework, because all this is a framework.
Mhm.
There is nothing on here that tells you what's in the classroom. That's just a framework for what you should listen through the whole lesson. But I think of walkthroughs as really an evolution of the instructional process throughout the year. So in the beginning of the year, I'm going to be looking for, you know, what systems as a campus have we adopted? And if it's posting or objective and not a watered down, we will or I will, whatever that business is that we turned it into, then I know who all is on the same sheet of music. Does that make sense? And really who understands the standards.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna be looking for systems like, what is the classroom management, behavior management? Is it
Right.
you know, do kids know what it is? Do I see processes at the door where
Right.
kids are taking home folders?
Routines and
So
procedures.
I'm gonna be
are
looking for that.
established. Mhm.
Absolutely, the beginning of the year to make sure everybody's doing the same thing. And then next 6 weeks, then I'm gonna be looking for some of this other stuff as I go through. But also you're gonna have a different, I think, a different sheet even for your 0 to 5 year teachers.
Okay, so that's.
To go along with
You
this.
have like 2 different forms.
Yes, you
almost?
can. And
Okay.
I mean, I know like in a lot of places, Aldine ISD is an excellent place to look for kind of the way they really look into their teachers and how to take care of them. I think they do a great job of supporting.
With our lower grade level, to me, the first and second grade forms look different than third up.
Or a 5th grade form.
Well, see, they have the
Yeah, I
first
know what I
through
mean.
fifth grade one,
Mhm.
and really, you're still looking for, no matter what grade level you teach, you're still looking for the same types of things as far as the instruction goes. You're looking for rigor, you're listening for the academic vocabulary, you are looking for the writing curriculum. But you might not see Annette's management up in her classroom if she's got like several different groups of kids coming through, and you know what I mean? You might not see that. Mhm. Yeah. But yes, I think it's very appropriate.
To maybe have different forms.
Yeah.
At least based on your teacher
Mhm.
experience.
And but like I would still use Memphis's, but for your whatever
Yeah,
district
no,
you're in.
yeah.
But then for my 0 to 5 teachers, it would look completely different as because we would be going through that evolution of where we should be now.
Mhm.
And what
Or
the classroom looks
maybe
like.
Should there be something on here at least so the teacher knows this is what I was looking for this time?
That's what I,
So they're clear on,
yeah, I would rather, as a teacher, when I get this, okay, well, I didn't get this checked off, I need to maybe work on that, you
Mhm.
know? And I know you're not looking for everything every time.
Never.
Right,
No,
that's right.
but-
Yes, that way the
but I
teacher
don't
would
even
know,
know
well,
what
why
you're
didn't I
kind of-
get that checked
Yeah.
off? Well, maybe you did it. That's not what I was concentrating
Right.
on this time.
But I don't
Yes.
even, from this, I know, I have an idea of what you're looking for, but it's not very specific, whereas if it was a checklist,
Mhm.
it might be a little more specific. But then that
Do you
is-
like any of the checks if there's
I
room to
do.
like script the
No, I
example?
do, but here's the big thing, and I think, and I know this is a beginning step as far as the way an
Yes.
administrator is trained and the way you look at things, but to me, and she's evidence of why I feel the way I do, what she just said.
Mhm.
It's not about the boxes on here, it's about what happens after I come in and we talk.
Right.
Mhm.
It's the follow-up. So if I just check a box and then Nikki looks at it or Misty looks at it and goes, but wait a minute, I did do that. I was writing critically. You just didn't see it because.
Mhm.
And so I think that the groundwork has to be done ahead of time with teachers to understand. The whole purpose of this is to bring about deep instructional change. Does that make sense?
Yes,
And so check boxes are good for compliance and letting us, and it's also a way for you to gather data to know, man, does my campus even know
that's
what
what I was
writing
gonna
critical
say.
is?
That's what I was gonna say, to maybe
Yeah.
see from classroom to classroom, are
Yes.
there similarities that
Absolutely.
nobody is really doing that or getting that, so we need to go talk
Professional
about that.
development,
Right.
or what is what does the topic of my PLC need to be? You know what I mean,
Right.
next time, or what do we need to work on next?
But like, maybe I forgot, oh yeah, we're supposed to be doing bell ringers,
Yeah.
but then when I get this, I've gotta start pulling that in. Because I
sure.
forgot about
Mhm.
it. You know,
Definitely. Okay. Excellent.
I do think that these are good, and I like that. I think teachers from day one should have those things, because you know, this is what the district has adopted, this is what our campus is, and this is gonna be our focus this year.
Mhm.
And maybe you collected data the last semester and nobody. But it's still the same science.
There we
and
go.
the same research behind it.
Very proud.
I was really proud of this, just because I know the history of that district and where they were before. It was really good.
Okay.
I think this also lets teachers know, oh, engagement, what I should see is actively participating and learning. Well, what does that mean? These are great jump off places too for discussions in a
Yeah,
PLC.
that's what I was gonna say, then that teacher can come and say, hey, help me with this.
These just don't do any good for anybody if you're just walking in, filling it out, and leaving it for a teacher.
Absolutely, yes.
Just
The meat of it is at the end. when
they're a
you can-
check off list is all that is. It's compliance.
It's almost like if they could take something like this with more space that you could make notations in there and
Right,
check it, and this is what I saw, this is what I didn't see, talk to me about this. You know, there's not much writing space on that.
right.
It's got lots of things to look at, and the poor principal will be going,
Mhm.
which one was it,
Yes.
too much
Yeah.
stuff?
Yes, that's when it's a lot.
If you could take that and say, this is what I'm gonna focus on this year, or I can take out some of them and have room for notations.
Or
Okay,
this 6 weeks.
This
like
is
she
sweet.
said,
right,
This is what I'm gonna be focusing on, I wanna make sure your routines and your procedures are in place. And next time, we're moving on to.
Right.
You know, or even this type of form here, you've got, there's not as many, you've got room for comments.
mhm,
Change it to what you're looking for, and even if it was for 6 weeks.
I really
Second,
like
third,
that. I
6
like
weeks.
having a different one. I've never, as being on the teacher side, I've never gotten one that was different. At every district that I've been at, every walkthrough form has been the same.
They're pretty much the same because they follow pretty much because of the way Texas even trains their principals, even throughout the service centers. They usually get these models and they go with that. So you typically will see very common walkthrough forms, unless you hit a school who's done some really deep work to really move the second order change idea. Then they go in and they do develop just amazing documents that really help transform the practice. Because it's not about the compliance, you know what I mean?
Right.
But that is what the majority of administrators
Yes,
end up in, is a compliance thing, because you are required to do X, Y,
so
Z.
many,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So just the thoughtfulness that can go in behind these. I'm looking for one that we developed in another district that is really good and really what we're talking about. And so I think though, when you do things like this, you give everybody a common language too, because just because you say, well, remember the discussion around Fundamental 5 a couple years ago that got so passionate, is when you talk about frequent small group, or the work in the power zone, or talking about frequent small group purposeful talk. Well, what does that mean? What does it look like in the kindergarten? What does it look like in the first grade classroom? But if you just tell teachers, well, you need to do that, and I've got it on my form here and I didn't see it, what you're looking for may not be their understanding of it, you know?
Yes,
And so
yes.
trying to check that off when you're doing a walkthrough,
Mhm,
what you think it is and what,
It's like a teacher and the kids in her classroom. It's the
mhm,
same
Mhm.
concept.
mhm.
But there, if it is on the checklist and you didn't get a check mark on it, maybe that's not what you were looking for that time,
Right.
but it might open that conversation for that teacher to say, well, I know I did this when you were in here, were you not looking for that during that walkthrough,
Right.
or aren't we not on the same
Mhm,
page here?
mhm.
the groundwork is so important to help teachers understand. I'm not in there for you to get points or not get points.
Points.
That's
Right.
not the purpose of these documents. The purpose is, I'm your thinking partner. We are together on this, and let's work on this piece for what do you think we need to work on here?
Mhm.
It's really to help teachers shift their practice and be reflective about their practice.
Yes.
But we do, most teachers don't think
Feel
of that that
way.
way.
Yes.
And
Well, I'm not sure that's always communicated.
but you know what?
Okay.
I've been on both sides, and this year, after she left me a deal, I'm like, well, I sure did do that. But then I said to myself, Missy, you know better than that. But it's the indoctrination of it
Yeah,
from our appraisal system. And that's not a bad thing. I do believe in our appraisal system. I
Yes.
just-
Okay.
They're good.
excellent. So some checks.
Yep.
With room for comments, like to, you know,
Mhm.
note the example or something. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Anything, I mean, for the most part, I don't know. I don't think I need such a big space. I don't think it's such a big space on the teaks. I don't think they take up that much room. I think that's wasted space, honestly. Like, all I have to do there is make the notation of the number, and then I can go check that. I mean, I just was kind of looking at if I wanted to add something to this, because I don't want it to be pages. I don't want it to be like a whole front and back, like as full as this one, but.
Just some food for thought on this is, I heard somebody recently say that too. I can go look at your teaks. But when you're going in a classroom and you're not familiar with first grade standards, or you're not familiar with that fifth grade reading curriculum, somehow I think this has got to evolve for people, because the way you give people credit or the way you're giving feedback should really come through the lens of that standard. So if you have to go look it up while you're in there doing a walkthrough, that's something that I think we tend to say, well, I don't need all that, but I think that's the lens you're listening to the instruction through. And so if you have to go look
Okay.
it up every time,
You're in the lesson.
Avoiding this.
from this
So-
perspective, yes, that's gonna tell you where your rigor is. That's gonna tell you when she gives the recognize and reinforce piece. Is she going back in time that language back to that standard? I said she.
Yeah.
Um, but that's
Do you
just my
tap
opinion.
out? Do you tap out the teaks on your lesson
I
plan?
sure do. And I've been told several times, don't do it because I don't need all that. Yes, you do. And I'm hard headed. Oh, yes, you do. Because if you don't know what
just
that
type
standard is.
2.7
I-
A. Interesting. Okay.
If I have to type that out, even if I'm cutting and pasting it, then I know what students are supposed to know and be able to do by the end of the lesson. And I should be listening for that vocabulary
Interesting.
that's in the standard as the leader. Because Janet could just say, okay, y'all, it's time to turn and talk. Talk to your shoulder partner about blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
But she has watered it down because she thinks that kids don't know the word osmosis, so she's going to water it down. Well, then how can you really talk about rigor with her when you go back in if you don't even know what the
it's supposed to
standard
be.
said, other
Right.
than we're talking about frogs and the evolution, the life cycle of the frog. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Now, again, that's just my opinion. I'm making up things. I'm making it up.
I'm trying to connect it. I'm trying to connect.
Whatever. Metamorphosis, thank you, osmosis. You were supposed to get that through osmosis just now.
Yeah.
She got it
right,
touched,
there you go.
she got it. That's the
You're not supposed to breathe it on.
Sorry, we got tasking.
No, that's.
But most administrators will say, I don't need all that.
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
Well, before we started the We Will and I Will, when I was still at Travis, they bought us kits and we had to post the teak. I mean, it was like on sentence strips. and you pulled it out and put it in your pocket chart or take it to your board or.
Mhm.
And when they first started it, I know Rakita went through and typed
Mhm.
all of them, and they're just in a file so the teacher can stick it on the board. The T
The
go
actual
with the
tickets.
I-bill.
But, okay, so on that,
I don't
What
know
if-
if there still are.
now
but-
let me tell you, so what happened is that companies got rich doing that because they knew it was about compliance.
Mhm.
So if you're just posting that mess up there
Yeah.
and you're not looking at it, you know, Trina
Sure.
said to me this year, Missy, you don't need all that. Yes, I do. But this is my first year to be back in the classroom and teaching first grade standards, and you're gonna see those standards up there for the next 3 years. You just are. That's what reminds me to use the word whatever.
Mhm.
That's how I get to the rigor.
It did make
It's a
me use
visual.
the actual
Absolutely.
terminology from the T
Mhm.
more
Yeah.
When it was right
when
there.
it was right there, because we had to refer back to it. Like I said, we didn't have any real Iowa statements at this point. It was just refer back to that T.
And now it's refer back to the. we will,
And that
we
is,
will,
I think this
which
is
I think is
also,
changing.
well, it's a tremendous misunderstanding of those two things from, depending on who does your training and whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah, because your I will and your I can't, everything should come straight from that standard, not from, today we're gonna make a model of a fraud.
And leap forward.
Absolutely, you need to go into the student learning report and copy and paste those I can things because they're directly from the standards.
And I like that because it tells you what terminology almost not to use,
Mhm,
like not to water it down with.
for sure.
Lead forward does.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she just bought us.
I knew
the
it
field
had it.
guide, and that's
Yes,
what
I
you
heard
want.
about that,
You're
but I
gonna want
didn't know
the
it
field
had kind of.
It
all
has like
of
the
the-
academic vocabulary you need to know and the academic vocabulary for that current lesson.
Mhm.
And so like use it instead of
Instead of
take
whatever.
away.
There you go.
know,
Yes,
you know,
yes, right, right. Okay, awesome,
Good.
awesome, ladies. Thank you. Thank you, thank you.
I brought you a book to help you know, like,
Mhm.
from how to develop a new teacher one,
Yes.
from the Get Better Faster book, and it's what I'm gonna work with if they hire Ms. Rojas or whoever my partner is, if we're a brand new teacher. How to get her up and going and all throughout the year.
She has a shoe.
Shut up.
What's the name of that book?
I brought it for you. You can
Like
use
you're gonna
mine.
let me look at it?
I'm
You're
gonna
gonna
do-
look- Okay,
I even brought
awesome.
you my cheat sheet flip chart for you to use for a walkthrough.
I think so.
And you can use all my notes.
Okay, thank you.
Not-
Thank you, Obi-Wan.
Did I say shut up on your?
You said it 4 times.
Now,
Teacher,
look,
teacher.
You're
You're the
gonna
boss, you're the boss, aren't you?
Sure.